You're listening to the Hunt Suburbia podcast. I'm your host, Pat Guyette. Big bucks I've been dreaming often, every night till I'm in a coffin. Vermont woods to the burbs of Boston, I'm looking for a tree to get lost in. Crisp mornings, little dust in the snow. Quality time, just me and my bow. Fall evenings, I know just where to go for some quality times for me and my bow. It's just me and my bow. All right, this week I'm interviewing a true fellow whitetail addict in TJ Mello. He's a Massachusetts hunter. He's killed some deer in Maine and Rhode Island as well. And he's been hunting white-tailed deer for 3 decades. He absolutely loves it. He doesn't discriminate in the size of the deer that he kills. He will shoot a spike horn like he did this year, just as easily as he'll shoot a 160-inch class deer. He's got some of those on the wall. He's got a lot of great knowledge to pass on to everybody. He was an all-around great guy. Also very good at turkey hunting and owns a turkey farm. So we'll get into some turkey hunting stuff, and a future podcast we'll talk all turkey with him. But here he is talking whitetail deer. My pleasure, TJ Mello. All right, another episode of Hunt Suburbia, sitting in TJ Mello's. Well, actually, we're standing. Little fireside chat, we're calling it. In TJ's trophy room here in Massachusetts. A lot of impressive animals on the wall. A lot of animals that look like they were delicious eating on the wall.
Absolutely.
Oh, man, a beautiful turkey we're looking at right now. We're going to talk about some turkey hunting, but we're going to do that in a separate podcast. This podcast, let's get into
deer
right? Hunting, man.
Boy, we like deer.
You love deer, don't you?
I'm obsessed. You could say that.
Yep. And what do you, I mean, we were talking about how like every deer is completely unique. The racks are unique. Yes. There's no one alike.
They're all trophies, all of them. My famous line, I never saw a spike I didn't like.
You got a nice spike horn this year.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I did. I don't make any false pretenses to be some sort of a trophy hunter, but, I've got 3 sons, so we eat a lot of venison. So I'm not shy about shooting anything, I've killed some good bucks, but I killed a lot of smaller bucks, and I continue to do so because that's why I'm in the woods.
Yeah.
I love to hunt. I love to put deer in the freezer, and that's kind of the bottom line.
How many deer a year does your family eat?
Oh, as many as I can bring home, I love the surplus antlerless tag program in Mass. The state's doing a great job with that, so that really helps, the winter feed.
Yeah. And you're in zone 10, right?
11.
Oh, 11.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But there's no deer in zone 11. I tell everybody that. Yeah, it is. There's very few. So don't even bother coming out here.
Yeah. Oh, Nantucket. Yeah, go to Nantucket.
Yeah, right. The island's where it's at.
That's
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Looking at some great sheds. So before we fired up the podcast, chatting with TJ and asked him if he's into shed hunting. He said, well, what'd you say? You're not very good at it, but you stumble across them every once in a while.
Right. If I'm in the woods, I'm scouting. I'm not so much looking at the ground. I'm looking at where I'm going to hang my next tree stand.
Yeah.
When we're in the woods, we're always looking for sheds. I mean, that's just, you never don't look for them. But I don't dedicate a lot of time to finding them. Just because they're hard to find, and I suck at it, I got a lot of friends that are great at it, and I've picked their brains, and I've tried what they said, and I don't get a whole lot of extra success based on what they tell me. And I have a hound dog, and she's worthless, and I have a French bulldog, and she's more worthless. So, when I'm in the woods, I'm looking for where I'm going to put my next stand. I'm looking for sign. I'm looking for last year's sign. I'm looking for basically everything but sheds. But I've come across a few, and, this is a really good buck that's right around here, and I'd love to kill him, but it's hard.
Yeah, he's got three years of the same buck, same side of his rack, his right antler. And it's cool. It's cool seeing, you can tell basically by the brow tine and the unique curved
Yeah,
brow tine
it's
that he's got.
very characteristic.
And then that middle year there, you said he's got a split G2 there, which is cool. And then the years after that, he just got rid of that thing and added length and girth.
Yeah, he took that split and just put it into length. The G2 of I don't have anything from him last year, but he turned that split G2 into just one giant G2. So, I don't know what he was this past season because I had no photos and no sightings, and I hope he's still alive, but it's tough to say.
Yep.
But
Yeah, he's a beautiful deer. So, shed hunting it goes into a lot of people's scouting tactics, and people like John Petrick I've had in the podcast, and Patrick Burns kills a lot of big bucks. Like that's one of their primary preseason, postseason, in-season, however you want to call it, scouting tactics is finding those big sheds, and then looking for how to get permissions in that area. If it's land you can't hunt, then you look at the abutters, try to get permissions, all that. So shed hunting doesn't really play into yours. You'll stumble across them, but what are your primary scout? What things are you looking for? Like right now, it's a couple days postseason. Are you starting to scout already?
Yep. Yeah, anytime you can get in the woods is never bad time. So, whether it's postseason, preseason, during the season, you're always gaining intel. I do a lot of in the middle of the season scouting because a lot of stuff changes during the course of a season. Right. So, I'll go in with one game plan and I'll sit certain stands, and then all of a sudden, I'll sit in mid-morning, and when I finally can't sit anymore, I'll get out and I'm walking. So I'm quote-unquote still hunting, but...
Do you do that a lot?
I do that a lot. I'll get down.
You can't sit all day?
No, I can't sit all day. I'll sit till about 10, and then I got to get down. I got to get moving, right? So, but that's never lost time or bad time spent, because you could walk up on one, right? You could get lucky and see one before he sees you and get a shot off. But basically, I'm scouting, I'm mid-season scouting. I'm looking for where I can go either later in that day or tomorrow. So I have a lot of hang-on stands, ladder stands, but I'm a big climber stand guy. I got a climber. And, based on what I'm seeing, I'll go and stick that climber somewhere else, even in that same day. So anytime I'm on the ground moving, walking, looking, I'm looking for the next spot to sit. And fresh sign is the name of the game. All these guys that kill a lot of big deer, they'll tell you that. Fresh sign is everything. Where they're feeding, where scrapes, rubs, boom. You're seeing a whole bunch in one area. You can't not sit there. So, mid-season is big for me. And then postseason. Preseason's tough. Everything's so thick. Around here, everything's so green and so thick. And, yeah, you're going to see some rubs, where they pulled off the velvet and stuff. But once the season hits, where they're making the sign is where they are. Yeah. And you find certain areas where, hey, I got to sit here right now this afternoon or tomorrow morning, Yeah. And, had a lot of success doing just that.
Yeah. I find this year was the first year that I put in a ton of scouting, so it was all kind of I started around May, I would say. And that's
good. Yeah.
You put up cameras, then everything looks different. Then it gets real thick, and everything looks different. You go to a new spot, put up some cameras, and then I've got some of my best cameras that had the best action. And we're talking about hunting suburbia, where I didn't start scouting it until July, August, and then put up a camera there, and you realize once all the leaves drop, and I had all the deer. There's you can see. Yep. You can see apartment complexes and you can see houses in the background. I was like, well, that definitely, it looks a lot closer. I mean, they're all 500 feet away.
Yep. That's suburbia.
But yeah, man, they like to live and travel near the houses where they feel safe.
Right. When it comes to the whole camera thing, right? So I'm not a big camera guy. I'm probably the opposite of everybody that's been on here, right? So what, Pat last week, he had 75 cameras, right? This year I ran one. So I'm very old school, and the older I get, the more old school I get. I mean, I could be the oldest guy that you might have had on here, and I'm still in my 40s. I don't know. But
no, we had a guy.
Oh, the guy with the ghillie suit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
I don't. How old he was? Older.
I think
40s.
He was probably in his.
He's a cool dude.
Oh, and forgive me if I'm aging. I mean, late 50s, early 60s.
Right. Yeah. All right. So, But I've got a lot of old school ways about me because I've got a lot of old timer friends, and those guys are fantastic. The knowledge that's in their heads, we need to get out of them before they're gone, because we're losing those guys all the time.
Yeah.
So I've got a huge appreciation for old timers, and I always have, and not just with hunting. You know, those guys are just fantastic, and we're losing them. So we need to get what we can out of them. And as a result, my wife's starting to call me an old timer. She calls me Old Man Jenkins. But the point is, I don't do a lot of cameras because some of the best old timer hunters I know, all the old timers, they never had cameras, right?
Well, and it also almost forces you to
That's right.
Be
That's
more
right.
observant and not rely on your technology. And
right.
We were talking Hal Blood
That's
before we started this, and
Yes.
you know, he for a long time swore off like, oh, you don't need any of that. I don't need what am I need to carry a GPS for?
Yep.
You know, and have a map and a compass.
Yep.
But slowly, you know, eventually
It
you can
creeps in,
use
right.
some technology,
Absolutely.
especially and use it to, you know, fall back on.
Yes. I'm not anti-technology.
But being a woodsman is important.
That's
and,
right. That's where it all begins.
Yeah.
You know, if you learn woodsmanship first and foremost, because that's going to make you a better hunter. That's gonna help every hunt you ever go on, whether it's deer or ducks or turkeys or whatever. You know, woodsmanship is everything.
So what are some things that, because we were talking before this, there's a lot of new hunters listening to this. They might not even know what woodsmanship is. So how would you define that?
So it depends on, you know, woodsmanship. Well, so hunter safety course teaches you the basics, right? But, you know, this is a Hunt Suburbia podcast, right? So not everybody's going to go hunt the big woods. Like where you grew up in Vermont, right? And I hunt Maine. You know, that's the big woods. So you need to take your woodsmanship to a much higher level if you're going to hunt up there.
Yep.
That being said, around here, right, southern New England, woodsmanship is big, but first of all, we're not going to get lost. We're not going to get lost around here, right? You walk for... Even if you're in a big piece of woods around here, you walk for an hour, you're going to come out to a road or someone's backyard.
Right.
But woodsmanship will never steer you wrong.
So you're not going to need to know how to make a fire in a wet scenario to survive.
Exactly.
Right?
Not down here.
Right.
Not down here. So
unless you get into that, you know, that big nasty swamp.
Well, yeah. Yep.
know,
Yep. Yeah.
You can get turned around and lost and
those things
dead real quick.
They're terrible. Yeah. Right. The briars and everything. But, you know, cater your where you're going to hunt. You know, concentrate on what's important as to where you're going to hunt.
But I even say, like, one of the things I taught a couple of my friends, you know, the basics about hunting this year. I got one of them a buck in Vermont, which was awesome.
Yes.
And it even starts with just like how you walk through the woods.
Absolutely.
And being quiet and your foot placement.
Yep.
You know, I love if there's moss around, step on the moss.
Step on
you
the
know,
moss,
if
right.
there's like I love that. If there's any stone, I like if you watch any predator on your
right.
cameras
That's right.
or anywhere, they use logs and stones
Absolutely.
all the time.
Fred Bear said, "Don't ever step on anything you can step over." You know, that's one of the premises of all of it. But there's so many little things.
But like I pulled a camera last week and had a couple bobcats. You could tell they were hunting something, and they were both
silent.
One was running across a stone wall, the other one was running across a log because they know there's no sticks, there's no loud, noisy leaves that are gonna alert the prey that they're hunting that they're after them.
Right. I've shot a bunch of deer from the ground, and if you can do that, then you can kill any deer because, you know, getting them eye level is the ultimate challenge, and it's all about everything you just said, how you approach, you know, how you base your movements, when you draw your bow, you know, get behind something, base it on what they're doing, where they're looking, when they turn, when they give you a chance to make your movements. If you can do that, you know.
Oh man, you got to pay attention to every deer that is around you before you draw. Don't just get focused only on the buck. If he's with the doe, you got to see where she is.
Yep.
You almost got to kind of go, all right, pay attention to her first.
Yes.
And wait until she gets behind a tree, and then you get into hyper focus mode. I gotta now. is my time. She's going to be behind that tree for a few seconds. Keep,
Everybody wants to see a bunch of deer when they're hunting, but there's nothing worse than when a bunch of deer come in all at once, because now you've got all these eyeballs that are you have to fool.
And as soon as one deer goes alert,
see you later. Game
all
over.
of them,
Game
all of them
over.
are immediately alert
It's
because
happened so many times.
they're aware of each other and all their nervous
Absolutely.
ticks. And as soon as one is like nervous, they're all nervous.
And their body language, you have to be a student of the whitetail, right? Just watch them all the time. If you're driving, it's not hunting season. If you see one, pull over. Watch it. Watch all of them. Watch how they interact. Their body language.
I love doing that.
Me too. You have to. Just watch them. It's so funny. Like when that tail goes up real slow, right? What's that mean? And once it gets when the tail goes up, now you can totally see why they were named the white-tailed deer. Because when that thing fluffs out,
Huge.
it is such a flag. And every deer sees that. And even if that thing isn't spooked, every deer looks at it and say, well, they're paying attention to something, so I probably
it's
should
to alert
too.
everybody else.
Absolutely.
And then, what I love is I've had a lot of standoffs with deer this past year, where they're within 10, 15, 20 yards, and they're a little nervous. Something is, they're alerted to me. They know something's up, but I'm so good at staying completely still during that.
Yep.
And, you might feel, you're going to feel a million itches on your body when you're trying to stay still, and you're going to be like, I need to itch that, or a mosquito landing on you if it's early season.
Every encounter is a learning experience. Every deer you ever come across in the woods, even if it's not during hunting season. When I'm in the woods scouting, whatever, and I see a deer, all of a sudden I go into hunt mode. I pretend like I'm hunting.
Yeah.
And you see what you can get away with for movement.
Yep.
You see how close you can get. Practice.
That happened with me the other day. I was in looking for shed. I had an hour. I was like, I'm going to go back, check this camera, look for a couple of sheds, because I saw one of my big bucks had already shed early.
Yep.
It was like it was very late. It was after Christmas, and he had shed. And I was like, I'm going to do a quick perusal of the woods and try to find it.
Absolutely.
And no bow in my hand. I wasn't hunting, but I was in there, and I was in some thick stuff, and I kicked up a doe, and the doe ran and stopped behind a bunch of shit, and then I saw movement behind her, and it was a pretty nice buck. He's probably 2.5. Next year he'll be better.
Yep.
But he was there, and I went into hunt mode, and
Absolutely.
I crouched down. First thing, which maybe I would advise not to, because sitting in a full squat for 7-8 minutes,
tough.
he was
But
actually
see,
there for 15
You
minutes.
learned something because you were pretending like you were hunting. So you learned something. So
Well, if I
now-
had a bow, I would have been on a knee, which is a little easier than the squat. But I was caught in the squat.
That's right.
Don't get caught in the squat.
Don't get caught in the squat. Those legs will fall asleep quick, and they will fail you, and then you can't get the shot off.
Yep.
That's why every deer you come across, make like you're trying to get a shot at it, and that's going to serve you well when you are trying to get those shots.
And then I learned a few other things from that too, because I've known these things, but it was practice of it again. Where I was squatting, and I was like, all right, my legs are they're getting tired at the first. Whenever he turns his head again and looks back the other way, which they'll do every 3 or 4 minutes.
Yep. When you can get away with the movement.
He turned, and I slowly stood up, but he didn't catch me. Because he turned and looked. Now I couldn't see the doe he was with; she was behind a bunch of stuff, so I knew that I was safe to stand up from her because she was behind a bunch of shit, and I couldn't see her. But yeah, what I was gonna say is what I love about when you've got that buck. He's been on alert for a long time. His tail's up, and he's so alert. He's staring in your direction. He might do a couple quick looks behind him, and then when his tail goes down, and they have that nice
that wag,
nice little wag, the little flicker. It's like,
think
he's
good.
He's comfortable again.
Pretty much, you're all right. Right.
Yeah.
And then you see what you can make happen at that point. Yep. But that whole experience you just described, you learned a bunch of stuff from that, and you're going to take that into your next hunting season, and that's going to help you. Yep. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So, what is your favorite type of sign? What you see a scrape, and does it depend on what part of the season? But when you're looking for the freshest sign to hunt, what'll make you choose one spot over another? If one spot's just got a bunch of rubs.
Yeah.
The other one, they're eating
scrapes.
Yeah.
Scrapes are easier to age than rubs. Unless you see fresh shavings at the bottom of the tree. But even those in dry conditions can hang around for a long time.
Yeah.
But a fresh scrape is pretty obvious, you know. I mean, that thing, you can smell it. It's dark. It's good to go.
Especially anytime during October, November, when leaves are still falling.
Yep. When you see them fresh ones, and it's not so much just one. I've had spots where you go and you see one awesome scrape, but there's nothing else around it.
Yeah.
That's a little random. I like to see somewhat of a concentration of scrapes. You get a bunch in one area, and then you got to sit there.
Yeah.
You got to sit in that
I
area.
mean, that was my first buck this year, the 9-pointer. On the way in, I saw so many, just like you said, they're undeniably fresh.
Yes.
Down to the roots, you got green,
Yes.
Green prickers coming out of them.
Game on. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
And they were 6 feet by 3 feet. They were huge scrapes. And on the way in, I loved seeing that. And I remember I texted Kevin when I was in the stand at about 6 a.m. I was like, dude, there were so many fresh, huge scrapes on the way in. This morning feels good. And then 15 minutes later, I killed my buck.
Yep. One of my best spots this year, scouting it, and there was one awesome scrape. I put a camera on it. It was the only camera I ran this year. Like I said, I ran one camera in Massachusetts this year, and it did good. The camera showed me a bunch of different bucks, so I decided to really commit to that spot, because it was one of my spots anyway, but the fact that the scrape was right there didn't hurt. And, I shot 3 deer out of that same tree this year. So, that fresh sign showed me that was where I needed to be, at least through October. And, that type of fresh stuff is what you really want to look for.
Yeah, hunt the freshest sign, man.
Yeah.
Hunt the most recent intel.
Yep.
So I saw on your YouTube page, and is it Full Draw Farm Adventures?
Yeah.
Full Draw Farm Adventures.
Yeah,
Go follow them on
little,
YouTube.
thing I started to do, that foolish YouTube channel. But it's fun.
It's a gift and a curse, and you start when you start getting into content creation.
Yeah, I'm new to the whole game, but it is fun to do, I have to admit.
Oh yeah, you got to love it. You do get a little addicted to it, but then when it gets to the editing part, sometimes that can be like, all right,
it's
can I
time
just
consuming?
Yeah, can I just find a?
I started the whole thing, basically 100% actually for the future, for my sons. Right, I have 3 boys, and I said I'm going to start documenting this stuff because, they're going to have something to look back on when they're older. Because I lost my dad 4 years ago, and once in a while, we had, random cell phone clips and stuff, videos that we took of him. But sometimes, once in a while, somebody will send me a new clip of him.
Oh,
and
that's
to see
awesome.
him and to hear his voice out of the blue, man, that's awesome. It really is. So I figure I'm going to flood my sons with all this nonsense that I'm doing at this stage of my life. So they'll get sick of listening to my voice down the road, but they'll always have it,
Yeah.
So I make all these videos, and, I'm not good at it, but it's fun. And the YouTube channel, that was kind of the next progression of the whole thing. And I don't know, I guess I think I got 800 subscribers today, so I'm basically ready to quit my job. I'm a sensation. I'm a sensation at this point.
Oh man, he's a local celebrity.
No, I'm a joker, but it's fun. And my boys, they laugh at me now, but they'll really laugh down the road. But
now, did your dad get you into hunting?
No, I was completely self-made.
Really?
Yeah. My dad. I have 1 brother. I had 8 uncles and countless cousins, and nobody hunted.
Wow.
Nobody. Yep. And when I was 12, I begged my folks for a BB gun for my birthday, and I got that. And then I was just an absolute menace in the woods, shooting all these songbirds and squirrels. And then when I was 13, I got a .22, and I shot a rough grouse, which I think I killed the last rough grouse in Bristol County, unfortunately, because you don't see those things anymore.
Wow.
But I was hooked, and then I got into reading about deer hunting, and I bought every book and magazine I could get my hands on, and I became obsessed. I had an uncle up in Maine, and I figured that was what I needed to do.
So you read the Benoits too?
Yeah, everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything I could get my hands on. And I said, I'm going to hunt Maine, I'm going to kill a deer, And I was 15, I wrote a letter to the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, and I still have that letter. And I said, hi, my name is Thomas Mello, and I would like to purchase a hunting license. I took my hunter safety course, and they mailed me the license, right? And hey, long story short, I went up there my first year. I killed the doe my first year. I was 15 and hooked. To say I was hooked doesn't even begin to describe the feeling. And, that was 1988, and, it's just taken off since there.
Now, if you could hunt elk for the rest of your life and give
Nope.
up whitetail hunting, would you?
No, no, no. Everybody says what?
I knew the answer to that. Somebody said, "Hey, ask him," because he's so obsessed with whitetails. Like
Everybody says, "What's your bucket list hunt?"
a whitetail in Massachusetts or Maine or New Hampshire or
My
Vermont.
bucket list hunt is the hunt that I'm going out on right now.
Yeah.
Like my next hunt.
Yeah.
The next one, my next tree stand sit or stalk that I'm going to do, that's
Yep.
my bucket list. I have no desire to hunt anything but these foolish critters. I just can't get enough.
What is it about? What is it
It's
about a
the
whitetail
ultimate-
deer?
If you can kill one of these things on their turf, that is the hardest thing to do as an outdoorsman. I don't care what you're. I'm green. All right. I never elk hunted or moose or Dall sheep or any of that. So yeah. All right. I'm sure there's harder hunts, but I don't know. I've done a lot of reading and
Again, though, if you go back to like what Hal says, it's not to say anybody who hunts an elk isn't working hard
That's
for
right.
it.
Oh, absolutely
or
not.
A muley or whatever. It's
Nope.
a different kind of hunt.
It is.
What
It
Hal
is.
says, and it sticks with me, is like if you can hunt these deer
That's right.
in the Northeast.
That's right.
And yes, it gets harder if you go to the bigger woods too.
Yes.
It definitely gets
Yes.
a bit harder. There's
Yes.
lower deer densities. You got to travel
Yes.
longer distances to find them, right? If you can hunt one of them and be successful at it,
But
then it's going to make hunting any other animal
That's right.
easier.
That's right. If you can get any level of success killing these critters on a regular basis, then you're accomplished. Because I'm sorry, but this is the smartest animal running around the woods. They are so super wary and spooky and nervous and all of the above.
They have hardly changed in 3 million
That's
years.
exactly
They've
right.
been around for a lot of people don't understand. They've been
That's
around for
exactly
3 million
right.
years.
They fed everybody that you or I were ever related to. You know, these things are what fed the settlers to this country and the
Yeah.
Native Americans and everybody. I mean, the white-tailed deer built America. I'm sorry.
Yep. I mean, we've been evolving. I guess if you go all the way back to like, apes and shit a lot
Yeah.
longer, but we've like our species the way it is like for 40, 50,000 years.
But
these
these
guys,
things, right.
3 million years.
That's right.
They've been running away from stuff.
And they haven't changed because they are perfectly evolved. They are the ultimate prey species. They are so smart and they are so wary. And I don't want to do anything but chase them. And
Yeah.
I don't see that changing.
I really don't know what the. I don't
No.
know why, but same thing,
plus,
man. It's,
I don't have a lot of money, so I couldn't afford to go on other hunts anyway. So I guess I'm lucky that I don't want to.
hey, you have enough money to do what makes you happy.
That's right.
And you just tell everybody about like
huge.
your main cabin that you're.
We
built.
Yeah, and we got a cabin up in Maine that it was a lifelong dream of mine.
And I told you that's one of mine too. Like,
Absolutely.
get up in the big
Right,
woods.
the north, right?
Yeah.
I remember sitting in high school at study period, and the newspaper was. If I didn't have homework, the newspaper was there to read, and I would grab the newspaper and I would go to the classifieds in the back, and I would look at the real estate listings. And there was always listings for land in Maine, right? And it always said, "Oh, great hunting land, great hunting camp," And
Yep.
I always wanted to do that. And then, like I said, I went out and shot my first deer when I was a teenager in Maine, and I was hooked. So it was a lifelong dream. So, I pulled the trigger 4 years ago, and we bought this cabin up there. And I can tell you, it was less of a dream for my wife, but I have the greatest wife in the world. So, she said, "All right, yeah, let's do it." And it's fantastic. I've had it for 4 years. I've killed deer 3 years now, and it's a
Awesome.
different kind of hunting.
Learning stuff every year though.
Every year, and
Dialing it in.
I find myself evolving into. It's a different kind of hunt, and to be honest, it's more rewarding. I mean, all you guys out there that hunt the North Woods, it's not suburbia, and any deer is rewarding. Any deer is a trophy, but to get them up there and to go into down here we're hunting 5-acre pieces or less. You go up there, you're hunting 1,000 acres or more. To walk in there and come out with a deer, that's saying something.
And if you're going north, you're hunting
right,
millions of acres.
Right. So, a lot of it is if you can learn to kill them down here, then you're gonna do okay up there too, because certain knowledge carries over, and any way you can get proficient at killing these critters is gonna help you no matter where you go to chase them.
So after you killed that one when you were 15, and you were just hooked, what was your next steps? Did you immediately? When did you start getting into bow hunting? Because that was with a rifle, right?
Yeah, that was with rifle in Maine. I call it the modern era, right? So that was '88. I was a teenager, and through high school, I went back up to Maine a few years after that with no success. And then, so down here in southeastern Mass, obviously that was the next step. Started hunting hard around here, but when I was growing up, no deer around. Very, very few. I remember the first deer I saw in town here was 1993. It ran past me on Fairview Avenue. I'll never forget it. Nice buck. But I went to college. I went on to UMass. I got a degree in wildlife biology, and then I came.
That's how you really were hooked.
Yeah, I was totally hooked. Yep. But I hunted hard out in mid Massachusetts. Killed a few deer out there. And then came back, the modern era, right? I graduated in 95, 96, so now I'm back home, right? Making my way over here, and I started getting serious about hunting around here. And I started bow hunting right around that time, 93. And
now, was that because necessity? Like, you can gun hunt around here, I'm sure, in some places, but still, it's like...
I remember thinking, so coming up, I was a shotgun hunter. And then I said, you know what, I got to start bow hunting because there's more time in the woods. Because, Mass, right?
That's right.
So here we go.
Yeah.
Massachusetts, December. That's when we hunt. That's deer season. And to me, that sucked. It was only a month.
Yeah.
No.
And it's not the best month.
No, exactly. I said, I got to buy a bow. And that was the next stage of being hooked. You want to talk about being hooked. I got that first bow. And to tell you how much things have changed, I'll never forget. It was 1992, right? I was a student at UMass, and I said, I got to get a bow. I went in the Bass Pro Shops catalog, and I had a bow mailed to me at my dorm at UMass. They sent it in the mail. Try doing that now.
You were shopping online before anybody else
No online. This was get the Bass Pro Shops catalog, and they had that giant white cardboard thing in the middle. You had to fill out all the information and then mail them a check, or you had to write down your credit card info on that thing. But they mailed a compound bow to my dormitory. Try doing that nowadays.
I wonder, would they? I guess it's a weapon.
No. Yeah. The answer is no way. But anyway, I just got, as soon as I started bow hunting, wow, that changed the whole game. And I would say that to any newcomers to hunting, deer hunting as a whole, bow hunt. Get into bow hunting. If you're not comfortable, get into it. Just start, because being a bow hunter will make you a better deer hunter all day long.
Don't just get into bow hunting and give up. I mean, you can if you want, but don't give up gun hunting altogether.
No. Do it all.
Gun hunting is really hard in some places too.
It is.
It's like
it is. But being a bow hunter will make you a better deer hunter.
Yeah.
Because what's the whole premise behind bow hunting?
Well,
getting close enough to shoot one with a bow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you can get within 20 yards of a whitetail for a bow shot, then you can definitely do better as a gun hunter. Mm-hmm. I tell everybody that. Yeah. But the trick to the key to bow hunting, and I've said this so many times to my sons, right? So everything I say, I picture like I'm talking to my boys. I don't want to sound preachy because I'm as average Joe as they come, but I aim everything I think and say towards what I tell my boys. And I say this: if you don't like to see deer that you cannot shoot at very close ranges, don't bow hunt. Don't bow hunt. Because you can have a deer, as you know, right? 10 yards. He's under you, but he's facing you. You got no shot. You got no angle.
Right.
If you can't teach yourself the self-control to not pull that release, right?
Right.
Don't bow hunt.
Yeah.
Don't make bad shots. That's everything.
Yep.
Don't take bad shots, and you won't make bad shots.
Yep.
That's huge.
It's really good advice, and I wanted to take a step back and think about some shots I took this last year too. That looking back on it, I've
heard what you.
I shouldn't have taken them. I just shouldn't have taken them, and I'm mad at myself for taking them in the moment.
Yes.
But again, I'm still learning on bow hunting.
You are, yeah.
And
we all are.
And I had seen so many deer, and I had so many bucks around, and they never stepped into a shooting lane that I allowed myself I'm going to let this arrow fly. He was in a lane, but it was a little bit further out of the effective range.
Guess
and
what?
I'm mad at myself for it.
Sometimes.
Luckily, I didn't injure any of them. They were clean misses.
That's right. But guess what? The injury and that wound, that's going to happen. And I'll tell you, there is no worse feeling in the world.
Yep.
Listen, we can't force it. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And like you said, I had all these deer all season that was so close, right? And I finally had to let one fly. No.
Guess what? That's part of it.
That's right. That's part of it. If you go the whole season with nothing but close calls, at least you didn't wound one.
Yep.
I always tell my sons too, no shot is better than a bad shot. And that's the damn truth, you know? You have to learn patience and just you have to tell yourself if it's not there, you can't force it.
Well, and if I did injure one, I mean, I would have been torn up about it because I love these animals.
That's right.
I'd hate walking up to one that's suffering.
It's all about respect, and that's a big thing for me too. You know, you have to respect this animal. That to me, that's the everything. It's it. You have to have the ultimate respect for these things because you know they are.
So, what do you remember? What it felt like that first deer in Maine when you walked up to it and it was dead? Do you remember that experience?
I remember everyone. It's just it's the ultimate experience. And
did you cry that first time?
When I was my first one?
Yeah, your Maine.
No, I don't think I did because I was just an awkward teenager and everybody was helping me track it and stuff, and I was embarrassed. But you know, everybody cries sometimes when you get a deer because emotion is everything. You know, I mean, anybody who's a parent knows everything about emotion. So yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say I never cried when I killed a deer. Absolutely, that happens, but and that's part of the respect of it too, right? You know, you respect the animal, you know. And I put bad shots on deer over the years, and you know, and I've had instances where I had to jump on them and muckle them and everything, and that's never pretty. But I'm not going to lose a deer. I'm going to do whatever it takes to finish it off. And
so word on the street is you're like a bloodhound.
Yeah, I like to track them. I like to track them.
And you brought a deer home on a golf cart before.
I did a little bit of that. Yeah.
What's the story behind that?
Well, you know, the whole tracking thing is big. You know, everybody shoot a lot of deer just so you can learn how to track, because tracking is everything, and that's going to serve you well. Because no matter how long you hunt, you can make tons of good shots for years in a row, but you're eventually going to get a bad shot, and tracking is huge. And blood trailing is everything, and you know, I take great pride in, at the very least, my ability to follow up on a shot and blood trail a deer. And because of that, I have a lot of friends that call me, hey, can you help me track one? And I did a couple for friends this year.
You're the only legal tracking dog in the
house. Right, but I bust their balls because I'm like, you guys never call me on the easy ones, you know? We never walk into the woods and 100 yards, there's a deer. Oh, no, we're going miles, and I'm jumping the thing, and we're going through swamps and across street. They never call me on the easy ones. I'm like, please call me sometime on an easy track job. But I'll tell you, if you can learn to track them, that's going to help you, because that's a big mistake a lot of guys make, right? So they'll hit one and it runs off. Boom, get down. Here we go. All right, we got blood. All right, we're following the blood. They'll give it an hour, half hour. They'll give it 2 hours. Oh, no, yeah, we lost the blood. It's alive. It's going to make it. No, don't ever assume that. Don't ever give up. Go.
If there's an injured one,
go.
2 days. You got to go.
That's right.
A couple of days
go
after
back.
That thing.
Right. Mm-hmm. Go back. And I know the tricks of tracking. Right. You lose the blood. Boom. Concentric circles. Work your way out until you find it again. Right. Yep. I find that deer go long straight stretches when you hit them. You know, they really do travel straight for long periods. So if you lose blood.
And they go towards water a lot.
I hunt a lot of dry ground. There's no water.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, they do go towards water, but around here there isn't shit for water. They got some swamps they drink out of. So don't think, all right, look on your phone. Where's the water? No, there's no water.
Yeah.
Just you know, don't give up and keep moving. And I like to blood trail at night. That I prefer that with a good flashlight. The blood shows up a lot better at night with a good flashlight, because during the day, you know, you get all the shadows to deal with the sun and everything, and you know, in the fall every little leaf has a red spot on it, and it's just brutal. But at night it shows up. So you know, I'll shoot them at dusk, and I'll give them plenty of time and go back with a good flashlight and, much better results.
I've seen there's like some products you can get that's supposed to be.
Yeah, forget the products. That goes back to being a woodsman. Forget the products. All these old timers.
A bright flashlight, right?
Good flashlight. Good flashlight. Who doesn't have a good flashlight?
Yeah.
Forget the products. Forget this, the that. Go out there and make yourself a better woodsman. Follow blood. This
now,
is how
both of those bucks I killed this year didn't have very much blood.
That's right. You're going to get that.
They died within.
That happens.
The first one died in sight, so I knew he was dead. But I still went and examined everything.
That's right. I'll do that too.
And there was no blood until right where he died.
I've done that over the years, right? So you shoot a deer, you see it go off 100 yards, and you watch it crash.
Yeah.
Don't just walk right to it. Go down to where you hit it and follow the blood, because guess what? That's going to teach you. That's going to teach you how to follow a blood trail. And that's the best case scenario, because you know where the damn thing's laying. But stay on that and follow it and see what happens, and see if he took turns, or see. And then when you field dress him, right, open him up, see where he's hit. See where he's hit. So we process all our own deer. We cut them up. I teach my boys to do it. My middle son, matter of fact, does it for friends and everything. He gets tips. He's an ace. But always look where you hit your deer. A whitetail has 14 ribs. The best shots are between numbers 6 and 11, and that's counting from the rear. Those are your double lung shots. But always look where you hit the deer, right? So when you field dress it, pull out all the guts.
Yeah.
And I always go through everything. All right, where did I hit it, right? Oh, look at, all right, there's one lung. All right, that explains why he went 300 yards. It was one lung. Oh, look at this. Boom, there's a big Rage 3-blade star through the heart. Well, that explains why he went 40 yards and there was blood on both sides of the trail.
Yeah.
Or look at this. There's a liver.
Yep.
Oh, shit, I hit the liver. Well, that explains why he walked away, wagging the tail slowly. He bedded down a couple times. Exactly. We've all got those pictures. That 3-blade through the heart.
That was that second one that I shot this year from the ground.
Yes.
But that's a liver.
That's a liver.
And he
Let me guess what he did. When you hit him, what? He ran a little bit, then he stopped, then he walked away.
Kind of. He ran away with the arrows still in him.
Yeah.
Which is the first time I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've only been bow hunting 4 years.
Yeah.
But all the other kills have been clean pass through. So
Yep.
he had the arrow in him.
Yep.
He ran away, tail down.
Tail down.
But then he started, as soon as he got to a little hill,
He slowed
there's a
right
berm,
down.
He slowed down. He
Yep.
walked up that hill, and he didn't look too good.
That's
to me.
right. He walked. That's
But I
right.
remembered,
He
I
was
like,
woozy.
I got to see where. I remember exactly where he crossed that little berm, because I think I'm going to need to
Yes.
go there later.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a rainstorm, but I still backed out. And I went back, and I could not find any blood anywhere. I finally found my arrow. There was some good blood in the arrow.
Yep.
Dark red blood.
Yep.
I knew it wasn't lung.
Right.
And he was quartering away, and it was kind of middle of his body,
Right.
and it just went right through his liver. But everything I read online said you got to wait 4 hours before you go after a liver hit deer.
Yes.
But it was a rainstorm and a snowstorm coming in, so I went. It was about 45 minutes after I shot him.
Yep.
This super thick rainstorm coming in, so I was like, I gotta go see. So I went over that berm, no blood anywhere.
Yep.
I ended up just going where I thought he would have gone once he got to that berm. The path of least resistance, and just kind of walked where I naturally could walk, and I stumbled right on them. They're dead.
Yeah.
I still don't know why. If everybody says with a liver shot you got to wait 4 hours, this one was clearly liver. He must have, and this is where your suggestion comes into play. If I was better at field dressing, I just kind of like sloppily field dressed this one.
Yeah.
It must have clipped something.
Yes. Check everything when you field dress it, and then write it down, because over the years you're going to see trends. But as far as waiting goes, you can never wait too long.
Yeah.
You can never wait too long, unless it's if you're super suburbia and it's gonna run into somebody's yard or whatever, or you're infested with coyotes, which we kind of all are. But you can never. There's no harm in waiting. There's no harm in waiting. If he's gonna go 50 yards and die, that's fine. He's gonna be there 6 hours later when you go back. Let him lay down and die, because
Even when the rainstorm's coming in.
well.
Because you might lose.
I know it. The rain changes everything. The rain changes everything, obviously. Yeah. So I don't bow hunt ahead of rain unless, if I do, I'm in one of my stands where the shots are close and I'm going to double lung him or not. If he's 30 yards out and I don't like my chances at it, I'm going to pass on him. So I limit myself when it comes to those situations. But you can never lose by letting them lay up. I tell my boys that all the time. Let them lay up. They're going to be dead when you go back there. I don't care if they went 50 yards or 500 yards. If you let them lay up, you're not going to push them out to 500 yards. They're going to be in their first bed at whatever, 50 yards, 100 yards. They're going to be stone dead waiting for you to get back in there. Mm-hmm. Let them lay up. There's no hurry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good advice.
Yeah, you kind of can't lose by letting them lay.
Yep. So what is you're on your YouTube page saw the awesome video of you with your son Gage last year. And you got that buck there.
Yeah,
right?
That 7-pointer. Yeah.
Beautiful deer.
Yep.
And that was his first.
Yes. 14 years old.
What does it mean to you to be able to pass it down to your kids?
Everything. It means everything. How do I explain that? When my wife first got pregnant with our oldest son, he's 18 now, right? And I said, all I could think about was having a son, right? Oh, God, I wanted a boy so bad. And then we didn't find out the sex, right? Which I highly recommend. If you're going to have babies, don't find out because it's the ultimate surprise in life. Anyway, we had a boy, and I remember the day he was born, and I said, I am all done. My whole way of hunting is going to change. Now it's all about getting my son his deer, when he's old enough, And this was his first deer. He was 13 years old, right? Got that. But, passing it on and getting them into it, getting any young person or newcomer into it is everything. We owe it to the sport. I've been doing this for 32 years, and I'm at the point now where all I can think about is like what I can do to pass it on or whatever. Like this, what I'm talking about here. I mean, it may all be nonsense, but if anybody picks up one little thing that might help them get one deer, then I did something right. The next generation in the future is everything. So your own kids, right? Sons, daughters just as well. I mean, if I had girls, they'd be the best hunters around, guaranteed.
Yeah.
I didn't, and I'm glad for that because I wouldn't even know where to start with a daughter. But any kid can hunt if you just spend the time, show them. Don't ever stop trying it, even if they don't develop a love for it or whatever. Get them out there.
A lot of people might not right away, but then they come back in their 20s
that's
or something.
Right.
It's
that's
like,
right.
I really love
and
this.
Even if they don't get into it as a young adult or an adult, guess what? They'll have an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
And they'll understand why the rest of us do it. And guess what? They're going to vote our way when it comes time to voting on referendums and stuff that have to do with hunting. So they may not hunt, but they say, hey, you know what? I started to hunt. I hunted when I was young with my dad. So, all right, now they want to ban baiting for bears in Maine. No, I'm not voting for that. I'm voting that down. So, teach your kids all of the important stuff about hunting in the outdoors so that they know, first of all, where their food comes from and like why we do this stuff and how to provide for themselves and their families. And if they take to it, that's awesome. If they don't take to it, that's awesome too. They'll still be better people for it.
It's kind of cool to build like a little coaching tree too, where it's like, I've got this many people into hunting, and then they get people into hunting, and it's like, it's like looking at like your family tree. The great grandfather is responsible for how many people?
That's right.
Great grandmother.
Right. It all
actually
began
the one
with them.
Responsible.
Yeah, but it's funny. Like my family tree, like we said, nobody started me into it. I was self-made, so like whatever hunting family tree that I leave behind starts with me.
But that's what we need as, like you said, a lot of these older guys are aging out, and we're going to lose them. These these guys from the great age, the great hunting eras.
Yes, these old timers, all this knowledge.
So we need to like have like for every one hunter, we kind of need a 30-person recruiting tree.
Right. So I got 3 sons, and 2 out of 3 have got their first deer. My little guy's still little, so he hasn't yet. But, getting anybody into it and involved, and a great way to get people involved with hunting is turkey hunting, because turkey hunting is awesome for kids. It's fantastic. It's a lot more back and forth. It's less sitting and waiting and scent control and noise. No. All that flies out the window with turkey hunting. You can really have a lot of fun with young folks. So, I've got a bunch of young guys and young kids into turkey hunting, into hunting through turkey hunting. and that carries forward into deer hunting and everything else. So get them all into it when you can. And then I write down everything. I keep hunting logs. I've written down everything for 32 years, and like all that stuff is gonna help my boys or help somebody down the road. I hope, my grandkids or whatever. Write it down. Write down your successes.
Yeah, what do you put into your hunting log? Is it a daily log?
It's funny. So I printed these out for you.
I thought you weren't going to let me look into that.
No. These are the blank forms, right?
Yeah.
One is firearms.
Okay.
One is archery. But
Yep.
that's just the form that I fill out. It's like 5 pages. That's for every successful harvest. So every deer I kill, that gets filled out, along with a written description of the hunt.
Yeah.
But then I also keep a daily log or seasonal daily log through the course of the season, as far as this day I hunted here, temperature, the stand, where I was, the wind, blah, 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 blah. And those were just the regular hunts. I saw this, I saw that, I saw this deer, I saw that deer, I saw this sign. That's just, daily log.
Thanks for that, man.
Yeah, absolutely. The harvest report, that's the meat and potatoes. That's the nitty gritty. And that stuff, that is all the details of every kill. And I'll tell you what, when those things start to pile up, I've got stacks of notebooks. When those things start to pile up, you can really break it down and compile. And, you've had guys on that do spreadsheets and all that crap, and I am not techie, right? So I write stuff, okay? I write it. But guess what? I go back and read it. And when you can go back and read stuff, or take it all and put it in a spreadsheet, put it in a graph or whatever they call it these days.
That'd be a great project for one of your sons
That's
in
right.
school for
Well,
the final project.
I know it, seriously. Imagine that.
Transfer it over to Excel. And
Excel, what the hell? Transfer it onto something, right? The old man's deer hunting career, right? But I'll tell you what, you can see trends and you can see things, right? So everyone, right? What was the moon phase? Boom. What was the date? What was the
all right, so let's get into some of that stuff. Like, what are some of the trends that you've seen over the years?
So, I'm good about writing everything down, but I'm not so good at reviewing it. I put it all down and then I just kind of put it to the side. But I'm almost at a major milestone where I'm going to compile everything and then really break it down and analyze it. Like, I'll go up to the cabin. I'm almost there. Next year, the year after, I'll go up there and I'll take all my logbooks and I'll break it all down and I'll really narrow it down into like useful categories and stuff. But there's a lot of trends.
Do you hunt specific moon
I hunt
phases
them all.
over
I
other
hunt them
ones?
all.
Have you found that
Yeah, if I read them all, then yes, 32 years.
But off the top of your head, there's nothing that stands out.
You gotta love that full moon. You gotta love that full moon. And coming up to it, right? So last week of October. So I've been at my job for 25 years now, and for 25 years. Well, when I started getting like adequate vacation in the beginning, I always took the first week in November off. But then I started taking the last week of October and the first week of November, and I've done that for 25 years. Mm-hmm. And the proof is in the writing, right? All the deer I've killed, right? So there's always a full moon right around the end of October, and pre-rut moon and blah 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 blah. It's good. It's building up. They're pre-rut. They're getting excited. They're rubbing. They're doing all the signing stuff.
Even I had a bunch of chasing going on starting
absolutely.
October 23rd this year.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a great week, that last week of October. I've been doing it forever.
Yep.
And it's good. It's killer. And everybody's like, rut, right? Boom. First week of November, second week. Don't be afraid of October. I'm telling you, that October lull business, what is that? That's a social media thing. What's social media? What are these, get out there and figure it for yourself. Hunt and then write your own stuff down.
I think the October lull is something that was invented by hunters who wanted October all to themselves.
Either that or
push the conspiracy.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Or guys that wanted to make excuses for why they weren't killing bucks in October. Get out there and hunt. If you get 3 days a year, then definitely go Veterans Day and the day before and the day after, because Veterans Day is killer.
It is.
I love veterans. I thank everybody who's in the military, but I thank them the most for that day off, because as a deer hunter, holy crap, that day
It really is. Like the first encounter I had with a mature buck with a bow in my hand was on Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, yeah. That buck,
awesome.
That was killed on that big one, Veterans Day.
Yep. Far right.
Yep. Those 3 were killed out of the same tree. That's what you call a killing tree. But
That's cool.
Veterans Day is just fantastic. And if you had to pick, so my birthday is November 8th, and I always like hunting my birthday. But if I had to go in the woods one day a year, I gotta say Veterans Day is where it's at. But, like I said, don't be afraid of October. Get out there. If you can kill a deer in October, then you can do a lot because you're a good hunter. That's hard to kill a big buck in October.
What's the story about this buck here?
Yeah, the big one everybody wants to ask
that Maine?
about. No, that's Mass.
That's
yeah,
Mass.
Those are all Mass deer.
Oh, yeah, you said it's just the only one.
Yeah.
Not from this town.
Right. There's only one rack on those entire 2 walls that's from Maine. Nah, that was Mass. I was in college, and, that's not one of my greater hunting stories. I was still, green, but that was a.
But this will translate to people who,
absolutely.
Even if it's not.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. No, I had a
You
friend.
can get a massive deer by.
Yeah.
you
know. The massive deer thing and the giant deer thing, right? This podcast is what you're doing. I think is awesome, right? So everybody comes on here and talks about what they did, but I think what you're doing that needs to be acknowledged. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Thanks, I appreciate
And
it.
it's a great thing. And I think the best part about it is you're aiming towards an audience that is new to the game, right? And
Yeah, because anybody who's addicted to deer and deer hunting, like you and I are,
Mm-hmm.
there's not enough content out there that can be consumed, and especially that's relatable to the type
Yeah.
of hunting that you or I might
Yes.
do. So we're
Yes.
always gonna, no matter what, even if it is geared a little bit more towards
Yep.
newer hunters and stuff, we're gonna seek
It's
it
all
out
good.
and want to listen.
Everybody's
to it.
gonna like it.
and we're gonna learn from it too. 'Cause
Exactly.
we're learning every day.
That's right. So, because I've been hunting forever, but I found your podcast before you and I ever met, and I listened to it all summer on a lawnmower, and I love it. But I think your niche is really pushing the whole premise of it to newbies, right? So, that being said, we talk about giant bucks, right? I think we need to have newcomers be realistic with their expectations going into the woods, right? So everybody wants to talk to somebody who's killed big deer, right? I've killed big deer, but I've killed a lot of small deer, and that's awesome. I love doing that.
You gotta kill small deer.
Exactly.
And you learn
I tell my
learn a
sons,
ton.
get good at killing small deer, and that's going to help you kill big deer.
Yeah, and it's a stepping stone. And
Stepping
it's gonna,
stone.
You might, if you're getting into it and you think you're only, you're going to start passing bucks and you've never killed a deer yet. Like
That's right.
You might get out of the sport real quick.
That's
because
exactly right.
You're going to get bored.
Get success under your belt, right? I tell my boys, get a bunch of deer under your belt because it's going to make you better at killing a big one when he comes in. It's going to make killing a bigger one easier. Not that that's ever easy, but it's just like basketball, right? You want to be able to drop threes, you got to master the mid-range jumper. You got to get good at the lesser stuff if you want to excel at the higher level stuff of what you're trying to do.
Yep.
If that
And
if
we're
that
gonna
makes any
post
sense.
some pictures on social media of TJ's wall here, but I mean he's got about 7 bucks that are I think probably 140, 50, and
Something.
160,
Yeah.
right above 140. They're nice big bucks, and then he's got.
They're all nice. I got a lot of spikes.
They're all nice.
5 pointers, 6 pointers. Look at them all.
And then he's
The
got
little ones.
a wall of about 50 racks,
Something like that.
something like that.
Yeah.
That are smaller
That's
basket rack.
When you can
Deer.
get, it's all about getting proficient at harvesting a deer, right? Getting good. So if you start out hunting, right? If you're a newbie, if somebody's listening to this and they've been hunting for 2-3 years, right? And they've got little deer small bucks going onto them, and they're passing on them. I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Shoot those ones. Get them under your belt. Get proficient at killing deer, because then when the big one comes in, at least you'll have the mechanics down, right? And when I say mechanics, I'm gesturing with my arms here of drawing a bow, right? Mechanics, drawing a bow, picking a spot, muscle memory, right? When to draw. Let them go behind the tree. What angle, right? Broadside, quartering away. Get all that stuff.
Yeah.
Get better at it.
Get the reps in.
Get the reps in, because then when the big one comes in, you're gonna be flustered. I get flustered every damn time, right? So, but at least you'll have the mechanics down, and you'll have in the back of your mind the muscle memory on at least how to make the shot. And whether you pull off the shot or not, that's another thing. But boy, that's huge for well, that's what I tell my sons.
Yeah, like you said earlier, learn as much, like, it depends on the level of hunter, how into it you're going to be, and how many days you're going to get to hunt and stuff. But a lot of us are not going to see very many huge
That's right.
bucks.
That's the other thing.
In the woods.
You're exactly
over your
right.
career,
You're
and
exactly
you might get 5 shot opportunities.
That's
the
right.
average bow hunter at
That's
a
right.
big buck.
That's
so
right.
make sure that when that happens,
So
you have all that stuff.
That's the other that you hit the nail on the
Into your
head.
memory.
That's the other thing, right? So if you're holding out for a big one, I'll tell you what, and I spend a lot of time hunting. The big ones coming under you, they're few and far between, right? So if you're holding out for a big one, that equals a lot of tag soup.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to be eating a lot of tags because you're waiting on a big one. So, the big ones will come. That's what I would tell guys. Be patient. The big ones are going to come.
And what's great about Massachusetts is you get 2 buck tags.
That's right.
We're not hurting
That's right.
on the
That's
population.
right. We're not hurting. And guess what? If you shoot 2 small ones in a year this year, there ain't nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. I
Yeah.
never saw a spike I didn't like.
Yeah.
Shoot them. And, there's next year. And the big ones will come. Just bide your time and get good at killing deer. And then it's going to help you kill the big one when he comes onto you.
A lot of it's social media too, right? And the pressures that, I know you don't like it, the pressures that like social media can put on
Here
people,
we go. Right.
especially like a newcomer who
Right,
thinks they're going to get shamed if they kill a small deer.
Like shamed. All right.
Right.
So no shame. No, I hate that word. There is no shame. There is no shame in deer hunting. And I am not a
the only shame is not respecting that animal.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So I'm not a social media guy. I don't fault anybody who is. I'm starting to be an old fart. Whatever. I don't have a Facebook thing. I have my YouTube channel, and I guess that's social media. Whatever. But there is no shame.
I suppose you met your wife by having a conversation in person with her as well.
Well, we did, yeah. Back in we met in 1992. So I'm dating myself, right? She calls me Old Man Jenkins. I'm telling you.
Your first interaction wasn't a double tap on the...
I'm telling you, the social media thing, and Pat touched on it the other day. I listened to that one last night, or whenever his podcast was. Take a step back from social media. Everybody would be well served to do that in this day and age, and I'm talking overall in life. But as deer hunters, everybody would be well served. Take a step back from social media. It leads to pressure and comparison and competition and jealousy. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no room for any of that crap in this sport, if we want to call it a sport. There's no room for any of that in this sport that we love so much, that I love so much. Jealousy, I tell my boys, there is no person on this earth that we need to be jealous of. We have the world by the ass here.
Yeah.
We have everything.
Yep.
There is no jealousy. And there's no comparison. And there's no competition. You shoot a forkhorn, dude, I'm going to be there and give you a huge hug. Congratulations. That's huge. Mm-hmm. Every deer is a trophy. Every deer. And especially archery deer, bow hunting, that's
Dude,
still...
the centerpiece behind your bar is your son's first three-pointer, man.
Three-pointer, weighed 100 pounds.
Yep, on a beautiful plaque that
I
you
cried
probably
like
hand-sawed yourself.
I did. I certainly did.
Yeah.
I cried like a baby when he shot that. And
Yep.
same with my son Gage,
Yep.
There is no competition. The whole... I quit scoring my bucks.
What is that thing on the right, that metal thing?
That's
on there?
the mass tag. When we did metal tags, right?
see,
Yeah,
good.
see?
I haven't been
You're
hunting here long
dating
enough.
yourself.
Yep.
But nah, don't compare yourself to anybody. Don't keep track of statistics and who did this and who shot that. Nah, dude, forget it. Go out there and hunt for why we should all be hunting. The love of all of it.
Yeah, seriously.
I'm struggling to explain it.
No, you're right, though. It's like it is hard to explain.
There's no shame in shooting any small deer or a doe or anything. Every harvest needs to be celebrated.
Yeah.
Celebrate everybody that gets anything and everything.
Yeah, and hunting is your own personal journey.
Totally.
If you want to go your whole career and only shoot at big bucks,
That's right. That's fine too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're gonna have you're gonna need a lot of patience.
Yeah. You got to buy a lot of beef. Yeah. But yeah, do whatever you want. Whatever. At the end of the day, when you walk out of the woods and you're happy and you're satisfied and you're fulfilled, then nobody can fault that.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But, newcomers to the sport, just dive into it with both feet and shoot anything you can get your arrows into,
Yeah, get the practice.
Yeah.
And if you shoot does, we need to get
does.
We need to shoot does.
Shoot does. And
here's something like I learned that I've been hunting for 23 years,
Nice.
and most of it's been Vermont
Up
rifle
north.
on the
Yeah.
ground.
Yep.
You shoot whatever comes by, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But I'm learning stuff every year that
Yep.
a lot of people who've hunted forever probably know this stuff. But one of the reasons you want to shoot does, right? The obvious reason is to get the population down.
Yep.
And get the ratios in check. But I didn't think about this. If you got 10 does and one buck,
That's right.
in an area, that buck is running off everything he's got.
Absolutely.
He's exhausted. He's stressed out by the end of the rut.
Wasted.
He's more likely to die
Yep.
over the winter if you're in a place where there's a lot
Or
of snow.
struggle. Yeah.
Or struggle.
Even if he lives, his antler growth the following year is going to
exactly.
be
His antlers are
weak,
going to
weaker.
because everything is going towards
Absolutely.
getting strong again.
Yep.
Right? So if you can get an even buck to doe ratio,
That's
your bucks
huge.
aren't running as far.
That's huge.
They're not
Yep.
they're not seeking as long as they are all the way into
So
December
true.
and January.
Like I said, my degree is wildlife biology, and when I was in college, right, the Quabbin Reservoir, right, that whole thing. I've
heard about it.
I was out there during the first year they had to hunt. But anyway, as students, they took us out into the Quabbin to do they called it running transect lines. So we would go map compass, go from point A to point B, and see what kind of deer damage was done to the understory of the
And this was before they opened up for hunting?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they opened it up the following
So you
year.
must have seen tons of deer while doing that,
Oh my
too.
God, we were kicking them out like rabbits, it was like cottontail hunting. But yeah, the place was decimated, so yeah, get your does down, get your population a little more in check. It's going to benefit your herd. And I'll tell you what, if you say you tag out, like you did this year, you shot 2 bucks and now you're on a doe hunt, go out there and try to kill a doe with your bow.
Yeah.
Right? Late season.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah.
That's a damn hard thing to do. You try to kill a mature bow. That is about the smartest friggin' animal in the woods. Because a buck, he can get pretty dumb during points of the year. But a doe is never dumb.
Right. Yeah. She's on alert all the time.
She will pick you off no matter what you do.
Yeah, her mind is never on anything else but surviving. But you're right. A buck can get
so true.
distracted, and
So
his mind
true.
is on one thing at some point.
We haven't told many hunting stories, but here's a quick story, right? Muzzleloader hunting. In the beginning, right, those little number 11 percussion caps, right? And those things sucked. And I had a doe right under me, and the cap, I had carried it in between my fingers on the way into the stand. Like I said, I don't want to not be able to find this thing, right? So I carried it in. Well, what's that mean? The thing got damp. So anyway, long story short, deer is on right under me. I pull the trigger. Boom, snap, nothing. The cap was wet, didn't go off. So the point of the story is,
with muzzleloader.
yeah, the point of the story is I plucked it off with my fingernail, and the doe was 10 yards out, and she was oblivious to me. But I had another one, I reached out, but I took the spent one, and I dropped it from about 15 feet up. And there was no wind, it was a quiet day. And I'll tell you what, that thing is about as big as a BB, right?
Yeah.
And the sound of that number 11 percussion cap hitting the leaves, you would have thought somebody walked up and kicked that doe square in the ass, because she heard that and just took off running. So
she must have known, they hear acorns falling all the time.
yeah,
She must have known
there was that little subtle sound.
that was a foreign metallic,
whatever
something.
it was. But that's how. The point is that does, they are hard. They're hard to kill.
They'll pick you off.
Don't be
just
shy.
switching your safety off.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're always on the alert. And I love all the things they do, right? That they stop, they look, right? And then they pretend like they're not looking, right? And then they whip the head around.
They love doing that.
They do the up and down.
They've mastered that over 3 million years.
Absolutely.
They fooled a lot of predators by
so
pretending
true.
they're going to go eat. They go,
so
"Whoop."
true, right? And then they look at you.
I got you.
Busted.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the whole thing, like pretend you're hunting when you're not hunting, when you're scouting and everything.
And a rookie hunter might not have ever seen a doe do that fake
That's right.
head bob, where she's going to go down, pretend she's going to eat,
and
to
then
see
you
if you're going to move then.
Boom, busted.
So, let her... I've noticed this year a couple times, 7 minutes seems to be a sweet spot where either a doe or a buck, whatever, they're on alert that something is up. If you can stay still for 7 minutes, like a couple times, it was like almost exactly 7 minutes that the tail would go back down.
Yeah.
So
no two the same.
No two the same, but you know, you gotta sometimes stick it out.
Yeah, you have to, you know, whatever it takes to get the shot off, and you know that's why archery is just such a challenge. Just to come to full draw, there's so much movement involved in drawing a bow. So that's why I tell my boys, if you can become a good bow hunter, you're gonna become a good deer hunter by default.
Yeah.
So true.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, take a quick break, switch the batteries out in this thing as we're getting low, and
absolutely.
We'll come right back.
All right.
All right, just want to take a quick break and remind everybody that's listening, please, if you haven't, go on to iTunes or the podcast app, anywhere that you can leave a review on the podcast. iTunes and the Apple Podcast app are the best places to do so because it really helps in the rankings. Go in there, leave a written review, tap on the 5-star rating. That's going to help us a lot in shooting up the rankings and getting this podcast out to more people, and I would really greatly appreciate that. Go and subscribe on our YouTube page if you haven't yet. It's Hunt Suburbia, youtube.com/Hunt Suburbia. Of course, follow us on all of our social medias. Continue to interact with us, and if you have any questions or anything you want to send me, shoot me an email at huntsuburbia@gmail.com. Really appreciate you guys. All right, we're back.
I burned out your batteries. Sorry. That means I'm
Well, you know what?
long-winded.
I've done, I don't know, probably 10 podcasts on those batteries.
Really?
And the first, I ran into it like, I think it was second or third podcast in where I saw the battery meter getting low
flashing.
there, and then it cut out right in the middle of like this awesome conversation.
Yep.
And I was like, for a second, I didn't know if I'd lose all that.
Right.
And it was like an hour in.
Yep.
So now when I see it get down to one out of
Time
3
to switch
batteries, I switch them out.
Either that or I'm just long-winded talking about nonsense.
Let's do, in the second half of the podcast here, talk some hunting stories, and then we'll get into a little bit of like how you get private permission, since that's important around here. But the biggest buck on the wall there, that you think's the biggest, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a beauty.
Big 9-pointer, yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
I was in college, and that is due very much so to a friend of mine who lived in the area, and that was, you know, like I said, there wasn't a lot of skill on my end involved.
He gave you intel?
Yeah, yep. He basically, we went in there together, opening day of shotgun.
Did he hunt? Or he never hunted?
Yeah, he hunted. Yep,
okay.
Yep. He put me in one spot, and you know, this was in my early days. Put me in one spot and went to his spot, and I sat on the ground, and you know, to my credit, it was a hard shot. It was through a blowdown, and it was about a pie plate sized opening. Everybody uses the pie plate for reference, but this kind of was. It was small, and
I don't even know what a pie plate is. Man.
Yeah,
I eat big slices of
plate.
pie.
But he.
So isn't that great though? About one of the great things about hunting is like that was a huge buck. Some people might be like, I'm that buck. I'm the only one hunting it.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
But if you got good hunting buddies, and it's
That's
like
it.
you'd be. I'm sure he was just as happy with you getting that deer.
That's exactly right. And anybody who's hunted for any length of time has a story similar to that. You know, we all like to brag or talk about the ones that we put in all the effort, the scouting and this and that, right? But guess what? Once in a while, there's one that's kind of a gimme, you know, or one we had help with, and that's good. That's awesome. Because
take the easy ones when you can
absolutely.
get them.
And I like to be the guy that helps. I want to be the guy that puts people onto the big ones now and help with that, you know? So
it's not even the easy one, it's a luckier one.
Yeah,
you know?
lucky,
A
right.
little bit more luck was
That's
involved.
it.
There's luck involved in every hunt.
That's right. And you'll see in that form, right, there's an analysis at the end, and you know, you rate what percentage of the hunt luck was, you know?
I like that.
You know, I like to think that a lot of my hunts, there ain't a whole lot of luck involved because there's a lot of homework, and homework doesn't equal luck. Homework equals success. You put in your time, whether it's cameras, scouting, boots on the ground, hours in the stand, whatever. You're making your own luck.
Homework and persistence for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, not that I killed massive deer this year. I think
Doesn't
the
matter.
biggest one was probably
you killed deer.
Damn right. 120, but they were my biggest.
Damn right.
And I did feel, I mean, I took a leap this year in just learning everything that I could learn, and I spent hours and hours and hours more scouting than I ever did before.
I listened to your stories, and there wasn't a lot of luck involved with that. That was your effort.
Yeah.
Effort doesn't equal luck. Effort equals success.
One of the things like that went into that first buck, and something I would tell people to do if you're hunting in suburbia is take bike rides around the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
And
Unless you're out of shape like me.
You
Bikes,
get
oh my
exercise,
God.
but you
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
your exercise in while
Bikes are
scouting,
good.
you know?
That's right.
You can look at cameras.
I heard
and
you
get
say
cell
this.
cameras and all
You're
this.
always looking
But
in
I loved it.
backyards.
Man,
Absolutely.
I did a 10-mile bike ride every night.
Yep. That's good.
You know, and I would make sure it was like an hour before.
Damn right. So
an hour before sunset.
that's when
so
the deer
were
are
gonna be out.
That's right.
I was able to get a good inventory on the deer.
That's right.
Within a 5-mile radius from my house,
Right.
but just driving around.
So let's fast forward, right? So you said we're going to talk later about getting private access. So let's jump into it now since you brought it up. So let's say you're on a bike ride, right? And you're in this neighborhood, suburban neighborhood, and you see this corker in someone's backyard, but you don't know the people.
Yep.
How are you going to get access, right? There's some good tricks.
Yeah.
There's some good tricks.
I don't know. For me, what's worked so far, and I haven't got a ton of access, but I haven't asked a lot either.
Yeah.
But the few that I have, it's worked, is send them a letter.
That's a good one.
You know,
That's a good one.
You
Yeah.
got their address.
I've never done that.
Write
That's a
out,
good one.
Write out a letter.
Yeah.
Because I can express myself really
Yeah.
well, written wise,
Yes.
better than I can
Orally.
orally.
Yeah, you're a
you
little
know.
awkward.
Even though, yeah, exactly.
I'm just kidding.
Even though I'm like, trying to become this podcast.
No, that's a good.
I'm much better
That's a good
when
one.
I write out.
Yep.
And,
But I'll tell you what. Don't be afraid of the cold call, right? And
knocking on the door.
Knocking on the door. So I'm a picker, right? I'm into antiques and stuff on the side. I love old shit. I've got old trucks and tractors and stuff. And I learned through hunting and through picking, right? Knock on the door.
Yeah.
You know, just be yourself. Be normal. You know, hey, how are you? I'm TJ. I hunt. I see your arborvitaes. There's nothing growing on them below 6 feet.
Yeah, you see that a lot.
Right. I'm sure you know what a deer tick is. I like to bow hunt. Would it be okay if I hunted here? And if your answer is no, hey, that's fine. You know what? But I'll stop back next year. I'm going to tell you right now, if it's no now, I'm going to come by next year. You'll know me, and maybe your attitude change. Don't ever be afraid to go back the following year, because then at least they know you. Like, oh, hey, how are you? Remember me?
Yep.
Hey, can I hunt here this year?
Yeah.
You know, don't be afraid of the cold call. But if it's a neighborhood or a road that you drive down all the time, bide your time, right? And wait for the yard sale, right?
Yeah, it's good.
Some people have a yard sale. Go over there and buy something you don't even need, like a used curling iron for your wife, right? But you're like paying for it. Like, hey, looks like you guys got some deer around here.
Hey, this curling iron reminds me
Yeah,
of whitetail
right,
deer.
right. It's a conversation starter. It's a foot in the door. Boom. Hey, can I hunt here? That's a good one. Or wait, I've been places that I've seen in the past, right? One place, I always saw deer, and I said, I got to figure out a way to get in there. One day, they put a Jeep on the side of the road for sale, so I called the number. Hey, you still got the Jeep? Yep. What are you asking for it? How many miles? I don't give a damn about the Jeep, right? And I'm like, all right, maybe I can come look at it.
And then you could say, like, I'm looking for, something that can carry
for hunting,
a deer.
right. I said, hey, you guys got deer here. Do you mind if I hunt? Boom. All that little subtle little things, little tricks.
Yeah.
Tricks.
And some people, I think John Petrick said he loves shed hunting. And some people who don't want you to bow hunt, you can then go the next step down and say, well, would you mind? I'm a wildlife biologist, and I'm interested in looking at,
There you go. Yeah.
I don't know if you even know deer shed. They're antlers every year, and
any access
to
to the
collect
property
them.
is going to help you down the road. So if they only let you into shed hunt, boom, hey, at least you're out
you
there.
said you're a landscaper, right?
Yeah. So that's I'm a municipal. I work for a town.
Yeah.
So that doesn't work. But who was it? Was it John that
It's
said
Petrick? Yeah.
Yeah. He's a landscaper and say, hey,
I'm sure he became
I'll
a
clean up your
landscaper
leaves. Yeah, he's no dummy.
Because
he's a hell of a hunter. He's a smart dude.
He became a landscaper just for the access it's going to provide.
I've never met him.
I'm sure
but
of it.
I like him.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. But, all these little tricks. And, you're going to find that in a lot of suburban settings, people look at deer like rats because they don't hunt, but they love their hosta and their tulips and their arborvitaes. And these four-legged rats come in and mow those things to the ground. So guess what? We are much better viewed as hunters than we were, say, 15, 20 years ago. now all these damn yuppies, they come in, and this ornamental landscaping is getting decimated, and they hate deer, and that means they love us. And when you go in, always ask for archery permission only, and that's another great reason to bow hunt.
Oh, for sure.
Because guns. Oh, yeah.
And also, bow hunters are by nature, we're stealthy. You're not even.
That's right. You're never going to know we're here. You're not going to hear us and everything.
Unless you want to.
But,
we can,
guns are guns, and some people, a lot of people are afraid of guns or whatever. So if you say, listen, I bow hunt, can I do a little bow hunting here? That's worked like a charm for me, too. So,
So there's a property that I would just love. I mean,
go knock.
This is the golden.
Go knock.
No, so I've had, this one was email contact. I was able to find it. It's a business, and I was able to find, the email contact there. And they do, summer camps stuff. And they have hundreds of acres of land next to land that you can't hunt.
Okay.
And it's like the Golden Goose property.
And?
So I was able to express myself really well, and I thought, they sent the first email back was like, thank you so much for your well-written and thought. I never thought about hunting this way before. Yeah. Let me check with some people. I know we've never allowed it before, but blah, blah, blah. But now I know I'm in the door.
Okay.
They ended up coming back and saying, we don't want bow hunters here yet. A lot of people use the property. People cross-country ski or use their bikes. And I didn't want to get right into it there.
No, exactly.
Where it's like,
choose your
listen,
battles.
like we always share the woods with other
That's right. I'm not hunting cross-country skiers.
Yeah.
You're right. You can't.
And you got to, it's... I'm not going to shoot anything outside of 30 yards, and I'm shooting from a downward angle.
That's right.
And by the way, I'll go to the farthest corner of your property where none of those trails are.
That's right.
I haven't brought that out yet because this is a long game for this. This property is awesome.
You're smart.
But I offered I was like, listen, I know you do summer camps and stuff for kids, and I'd be happy to take, if you want me to do a little class on deer and
there you go.
And how to learn about deer and about where they live and their habitat and identifying scat. I'd be happy to offer that for just me.
Right.
I'd love to volunteer and do that.
Yep.
So they're like, great, we'll be in touch.
That's how but follow up.
And that would be fun. I would really enjoy doing that.
Right. Yeah. And you're helping, you're pushing the thing on kids and people who don't hunt. So, that's a good situation. But, don't give up on that place. Or just let me know where it is and I'll get you in there. I'll get us in there. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
don't give up.
One of the good things about networking on this podcast is there's a possibility that happens.
Yeah, right. Like I said, I tell people, all right, no problem. I said, hey, if you don't mind, I'm going to come back next year and ask you because you may change your mind. And they never care. They're like, yeah, come on back. It doesn't matter. And barter. I'm a huge proponent of the barter system. I've got a turkey farm. I've traded turkeys for hunting access. I've traded farm equipment. So
one of the things is that you bring that up, I was thinking about doing is asking every person on the podcast to everybody's got gear they don't use.
Yeah.
That's just been sitting there dusty for a while.
Cool idea.
And I want to collect it all.
Yeah.
And then do raffles or give it to somebody who's just getting into hunting and doesn't really have a lot of money, whatever.
Very good.
And you can outfit like a new hunter.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to leave here. You got to think about what you can. It doesn't have to be anything big.
I'll tell you what I'll donate right now. I'll donate the deer that they shoot. I'll process it for nothing. Cut, wrapped, and frozen.
And teach them how to do it.
And I'll teach them how to do it. I'll
Awesome,
do it
man.
with
That
them.
is awesome.
I'll do it for them. I'll do it with them. I'm talking cut, wrapped, and frozen. I got a walk-in cooler here.
Perfect.
The whole 9 yards. So
awesome.
I'll do at least that. But I'll also go through my gear and, I've got cameras I don't use. I'll donate whatever.
Yeah, but isn't that kind of? I think if everybody that comes on brings something you don't use or you haven't used in a long time. I've got tons of that crap too.
Absolutely.
And it's not crap. It's just like
it's not crap.
As hunters, we're like, I want to advance and get something new.
That's right. Who doesn't want to help somebody just getting into it? Absolutely. Get it. Get into it. It's funny. I hear you guys talking on a podcast, right? The newcomers and stuff, and I can't believe how many people you talk to that say, "Oh, I got to get a truck." What's the matter with you guys?
I know.
Why don't you drive trucks?
Some really good hunters too.
You're killing me. Every guy needs a truck.
I was
Come
gonna
on.
I've been so. What kind of truck do you drive?
Oh, anybody that knows me knows the answer to that. I don't.
Toyota Tacoma.
Hold on.
Because that's the one that I've been thinking about getting.
Oh, my heart just stopped beating. No.
My buddy was like,
Ford.
You got to get your Toyota Tacoma.
Ford.
But how come
Ford.
I hear that they're not so good?
I'm sorry. What did you just say?
I hear that they break down.
Ford. No, listen.
No, so tell me about it.
It doesn't matter. Any truck is a good truck. I'm a Ford guy. I mean, everybody's a something guy. You know, I've always been. We grew up on a farm with Fords, and I've seen what they can.
That means something to you,
right? They mean something. It's personal, right? I'm not gonna sound like a Ford commercial, but I've seen what they can do and what they're capable of, and I've done it with them. You know, whether it's farming or off road or in the mess and everything. They do it all. So, but. Any truck is a good truck, and yeah, Tacomas are awesome. I got a lot of friends that run Tacomas, especially everybody that goes up north. I got a couple of hound hunting buddies. My one good friend, and he puts a dog box in the back, and those things are pretty bulletproof. Yeah.
Yeah. They last a while.
The small trucks are awesome. Like I've got I don't know. I got 6 trucks. That's 6 Ford trucks, but my bread and butter is my Ranger. Right, that thing is fantastic. Right, light bars and stuff, and it's small. You can stuff it into places that you would never put a big truck. And we call it main pinstriping, right? You're never going to have a good paint job if you're going in the woods, right? All them branches and shit down the sides, right?
Yeah.
Main pinstriping, right? So forget about your paint.
Yeah.
But the little trucks are awesome. I will give you one piece of advice. This big one in the driveway, right? This F350.
Yeah.
Everybody loves a lifted truck, right? All us rednecks.
I saw your video of you trying to
exactly
get up to get your windshield wipers unstuck.
Right. Big mistake. Try putting a deer in the back of a lifted truck. Big mistake. Yeah. Stupid.
Got to back it up to a huge berm.
It's true.
Yep.
Everybody likes a lifted truck. This thing was stock. I got stupid. I put a 6-inch suspension lift under it and 35s, and I did it all myself and blah, blah, blah. And that's my hunting rig. It's a 4-door. It's a crew cab. I keep everything in it. But what a pain in the ass.
Got texted to pick up a decent buck. Sorry to interrupt you. I still love that.
Moultrie. That's a good one. That's a good buck.
Cell cam, it's cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
But
it's a lot of fun.
I kind of hate them.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of hate them.
It shows you what you're missing.
Extra expense, and it shows you what you're missing. And,
Yep. But don't get crazy with lift kits. They're overrated. When we're young, all right, lift kits, big trucks, they're cool. But, as you get older, they're a pain in the ass to get in and out of. And getting a deer, watch the video of me and my son, when his first deer, that buck, right? Watch the segment of us trying to get
I saw that too.
Right. You want to talk about a struggle. And I'm out of shape. It was painful. So lifted trucks are overrated. I'm here to tell you that.
Yeah. That's a beautiful buck your son got there.
Yeah, right. That was fantastic. What a day. What a day. Shot it from the ground in the cornfield. I plant corn. I plant 5 acres. I sell the ornamental cornstalk bundles that everybody puts out for decorations. It's kind of a niche market, but I've always, farmed, and that's a little sideline I got going to selling those bundles. Mm-hmm. And the fact that the deer like the corn too is not such a bad thing as a byproduct of the cornfield. So,
So another thing I just learned, because I'm always learning stuff.
Mm-hmm. We all are.
Is that deer don't process corn in the wintertime.
That's right.
Right? So
that's right. Well, So when I told you to cut open your deer and check everything, check the gut pile when it's all said and done, the last step you do, because it's the smelliest step, is slit that stomach open.
See
because
what they're eating.
You're going to want to get out of there soon after you do that, because that damn thing smells. But yeah, see what they're eating. I always do that. See what they're eating.
I love doing that with fish.
Yeah, right. See what they're eating.
Yeah.
See what they're eating. And the corn, when they're eating corn, it's always obvious. Those kernels are in there,
Yeah.
But see what they're eating. They're going to tell you whether they're in, acorns, which they always are, but they're gonna show you if they're into ornamentals, right? I had a buck I shot a couple of years ago. Those a Bradford pear tree, those little tiny little brown things. They're not pears, but the little seed pods on a pear tree. He was full of those, which told me where he was, right? Some of these yards and stuff. But always check the stomach too, because it's gonna tell you where they were. It's gonna tell you where the other deer are.
Something tells me most people aren't going to check that stomach.
That's exactly right. Don't be shy. Get dirty. Get bloody. Don't be afraid, man. It all stinks. It's all dirty, but you're already in there, so get on it.
Yep.
So true.
Yep. So what do you think your best deer story? I mean, you're looking at over
stories?
50 racks on the wall,
Christ,
then you got, 12 mount. What's your best deer story?
If I'm going to tell a story, I'm going to tell a story that is maybe going to teach somebody not to do what I did, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Those 4 on that facing wall, the bottom left one, that was my first 200-pounder. He's just a 7-pointer, but he was a slob. He was 200 pounds.
How many 200-pounders you got?
Actually, one, him.
He's my first.
First and only.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's right.
You're right. That was him. And that's right here in town, so that's something. But when that day it was cold, right? Long story short, cold. And it was 9 o'clock and I was freezing. I said, I got to get out of here. I hooked up the rope, the pull-up rope, right? Hooked it to the bow, lowered the bow, right? Bow hits the ground. I don't know what you do. What do you do when the bow hits the ground or your gun hits the ground? What do you do with the rope?
It stays attached to my climber.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Smart man. I learned that lesson after that deer, and I tell my boys that. Don't ever let that other end of that rope go. Either attach it to your climber or to yourself, make a loop, put it around your wrist, your ankle, something.
Yeah.
Always make your weapon reachable. Because I dropped the bow, and then it hit the ground, and I dropped the rope. And Murphy's Law, right? Soon as that rope hit the ground, what do I hear? I hear deer coming.
Yeah.
And not just a deer. What happened next, if it didn't happen to me, I would have never believed it. And I don't know if you believe me or not, but I'm not a bullshitter. This is a true damn story. A doe came tearing through. And I've heard you tell stories, right? Guys that see a doe come through with multiple bucks behind her. That's a rare thing in the woods. And that is an awesome thing. If you're in a stand and you see a doe come through with multiple bucks behind her, you are... First of all, you're experiencing peak rut activity. You are seeing what everybody dreams about seeing.
Yeah.
That is super rare.
Yeah.
So stay in that spot. If they don't come into range, if you don't kill one, stay there. As long as it takes, all day. Because the fact that she came through there, she left scent. So, other deer are going to come through. Even after the parade goes through, other deer are going to come through. You can never lose with having a hot doe go by you. So I dropped that rope and I could hear deer charging in. And I said to myself, you gotta be kidding me. Why did I drop the rope? And here comes this doe, right? With a 4-corn and then a 8-point right on her ass. And I had to watch them go by at 20 yards and just watch them go.
Yeah.
And I'm an idiot. There's the bow on the ground. And then after they passed, I heard the grunting. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And there comes this 200-pound buck. And he is bringing up the rear. And he is mad. And he goes...
What are these little guys doing after
exactly,
my... Yeah.
Right. But like you said, when everybody's seen it where multiple bucks are on a hot doe, but the boss is going to end up breeding her, right? He's going to run them little shitheads off. So when they went through, I had let all 4 of them go by. And I'm in my climber, so what do? Now I'm shimmying down the tree as fast as I can. So I don't grab the bow because you can't climb back up the tree holding the bow. I grab the end of the rope that I dropped, right? And I shimmy back up the tree. But while I'm doing that, I grab my grunt call, put it in my mouth, and I'm climbing up and I'm wailing on that grunt call, And I get back up and I see him. I see the big one. He heard the grunt. He stopped. He turned. He was about 70 yards out.
No way.
Yep. He turned, and now he starts walking back in. And this was some of the greatest, what's the term I'm looking for? The greatest patience / presence of mind I've ever experienced. I'm watching him come, and now I'm pulling up. I only made it back up about 9 feet because I saw him starting to come. So now here I am in the climber, 9 feet off the ground, pulling up 20 feet of pull-up rope to get the bow into my hand.
Yeah.
And here he comes. And he was 15 yards out, and I pull the arrow out of the quiver. I put it on a knock. He still didn't see any of this movement. He was 10 yards out. Pull it back to full draw. Voice bleep. He stops.
Oh, way.
That arrow went through him. He went 40 yards and rolled. And the whole thing happened inside of about 3 minutes. And to say I was shook was like the understatement of the year. Just incredible. So don't ever drop the end of your pull-up rope. Keep that thing on you.
I'm glad you said that for a couple of reasons. But one is, and I think I talked about it on one of the podcasts, but This year, the first chasing activity I ever
Yes.
experienced. And again, I've been hunting 23 years.
Yes.
Most of it's in Vermont. You don't see that as much. I'm
Right.
sure there's a ton of Vermont hunters who see it, but
Yep.
I guess I wasn't a very good hunter over the first 20 years of my career. I wasn't scouting and getting into the right areas. But the first time I saw seeking activity and chasing, not seeking, chasing, was November 16th. It was the day before I got my 9-pointer.
That's a good week
this year.
Yep.
And there was a buck pushing does, and there was another buck trailing it, like you said, and they pushed. They went around. They ended up coming back like 5 minutes later. They were like 70 yards out. Had no shot. They came back 5 minutes later, and they got the binoculars up. I'm like, oh shoot, that's one of my big 8-pointers. And he's following, just chasing this doe like a bat out of hell through there. And I tried grunting, and then he just didn't pay any attention to it. And I told myself, I'm like, there's just no sense in grunting when there's a mature buck on a hot doe. He's not leaving her for anything. So that's interesting because I was about ready to I'm sure I'll try it again, but I was like, that was going to go back into my hunting knowledge that all right, mature buck isn't going to get off that doe.
As long as everything goes back into your hunting knowledge, it's never a loss. But you just brought up a great point, right? So here's another thing I tell my boys: calling, right? So sometimes you ask guys about calling. Do they call? Do they call deer? I'll tell you something about calling. There's certain times you can't go wrong with calling. I love to call. I am super aggressive. Blind calling, like sitting in the stand and just once in a while grunting or bleat can or whatever, I don't do a lot of that. I don't find it to be overly successful. But when you have a deer in sight, you can't call. You can almost never call enough. When it comes to bucks, when I see them, I'll let the situation play out. Let them do what they're going to do. Yeah. Right? If they're going to come under you, shut up. Don't make a noise. Make the shot. Get yourself ready. Make the shot. If they're not going to come onto you, not going to come underneath you or near you, call. Call. Because guess what? You got nothing to lose. Like you just said, you called to that guy. He didn't give a damn, right? Right? That one.
Yeah, but
he didn't spook, did he?
No, not at all.
You can't lose. I have very rarely had bucks, even big bucks, they don't spook with calls. They either like it and they come in, or they're indifferent and they don't give a crap and they leave. But you can't lose. It works a lot.
Again, every buck is different.
That's right. Every buck's different. But
so.
You have nothing to lose. Yeah. On the small bucks, it's almost not fair. I
did that quite a few times this year on small bucks.
Right. And if any, hey,
but the grunting sometimes didn't work on them, and then I would hit a rattle.
That's
and
right.
Came right
you
in.
Can't lose, right? So guys that are listening to this, that all you want to do is shoot big bucks, and that's awesome. They don't care how to call, 5-pointers in. But I'll tell you how to call 5-pointers or less. That bleat can is deadly. They'll turn and they'll come. So like I said, this podcast is fantastic for newcomers. Newcomers, don't go into the woods without your bleat can and your grunt tube. And guess what? The snort wheeze, which you can make with your mouth.
Yeah.
And that thing is deadly too. That thing works like a charm, and it doesn't always work.
I tried that last year too, because again, I was like, whenever and I wasn't hunting, but it was like, I want to try something.
That's right.
Because I'm out there and there's a buck in front of me, and I want to see what he does with a snort wheeze.
It doesn't always work, but when it
does, this one did, and I wasn't hunting either.
That's
it was
right.
just a little 6-pointer, and he was running.
But when you're hunting,
I spooked him and then snort wheezed him back in.
That's right.
Yeah.
See, so if you were hunting, you would have killed him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't always work, but when it does, it's a dead deer.
Yep.
And you scored. I'll throw everything. I had a buck this year. He was a gorgeous 8-point. And he's a 3.5-year-old, and he came in chasing this doe, and he was the boss. And I had him at 20, but I didn't like it. There was brush, and I'm not going to put a bad shot on him, so I let him go at 20. And he went out to 40. And then he left, and he was at 70, and I started throwing everything at him, the grunts. I flipped the can, right? And he would look, and he would see it, and he would hear. He wasn't coming, and then he left. He started to walk away, I should say. And then I snort wheezed him, and he stopped, and he turned, and he's like, oh, really?
Yeah.
But guess what? He still wanted to be with her, which, no surprise, that's what they do. But you know what? It didn't spook him.
Yep.
and I had to try.
Yeah.
So, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But if it works, holy crap, it worked.
What spooks deer is something
Movement.
that doesn't sound like a deer, or anything at first where it's like movement. All right, that could be anything. Could be a deer, squirrel, predator. So they get spooked naturally. But then they'll stop and look and hear and listen.
Right, because they're curious animals by nature.
Yeah.
Don't ever underestimate their curiosity, and that is a lot of times their downfall. Their curiosity is brutal, and it leads to them dying a lot of the time.
Yep.
And if I'm coming in and I spook one and they blow, I'm blowing right back at them hard with everything I got. Right, blow. And if you're going into your stand, another trick I tell my sons. Right, if you're going into your stand pre-dawn or close to shooting light and you spook them, they're blowing. Hey, do it right back at them, because a lot of times they'll spook out, they'll run 50, 70, 100 yards. They're going to come back. They're going to circle back around. And next thing you know, you're getting your shot, So, blow back at them. Sound like an animal. Sound like a critter. Sound like a deer. It's going to help you.
Yep.
But don't be afraid to call, because it very rarely spooks them.
Yeah. And I had forgotten about that snort wheeze, too. Last year I was watching a lot of different videos.
That's right.
And people were snort wheezing, and I tried it last year, and it was successful, and it didn't spook them.
It didn't spook them.
I didn't use it at all this year, but it is great.
It takes a buck with a big set of balls to respond to that, and we're talking a stud, right? So if he ain't coming and you blow that snort wheeze at him and he hears it and he turns and comes, first of all, he's the boss. He's the boss in that piece. And second of all, you're going to see his posture, right? We're talking ears pinned, right? Hair standing up, that stiff-legged walk.
Yeah.
He's the boss. That call is as aggressive a call as you can throw at a deer, that snort wheeze.
Yeah.
So, on your big bucks, if you see them and they're passing out, throw it at them, because it might work. But then prepared to crap your pants.
It's not really that hard to do with your mouth either.
No, it's an easy call to replicate.
It's very easy.
Right, and the deer don't know. There's no formula for a correct deer call. If you can kind of half-ass sound like a deer, then they're gonna come. But be prepared when he turns and comes in. It's hope you got your shitting pants on, because
a couple of guys
it's gonna
I've talked
be a
to,
rush.
I think it's Jeff Paradis from Big Woods
Oh
Box.
yeah, he's good.
And he said he carries 2 different grunt tubes all the time, because bucks might not respond to one.
Yeah.
But then they hear a certain tone on the other one, and it's like that gets them to turn and come in.
And here's a little trick about cameras, right? Cameras, I don't run a lot of them, but when you do run them, video, forget the photos, do the videos, because you get the audio. You get all the different angles of the buck moving, so you can see what he is and all this and that. But you get the audio, and I've got a lot of videos of bucks grunting, you see different grunts.
I watched your YouTube page last night again. I was just trying to study up and be a good interviewer.
See that video of that one grunting?
Yeah, well, I watched your, I think it was like your 2019 camera video, your game cam montage, and I watched all those, because I love game cam footage.
That's so much fun.
That one of that buck, it looked like it was on a logging road or something. He was just running up and down, shadowing a doe.
Did you see that? That was incredible.
Awesome. That's a really cool footage.
That is. When I saw that blew my mind.
Was it a doe in there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He was back and forth. I never saw.
That was really cool.
That was in Maine too. That was my Maine camera, and that he was a mirror. Everything. That's
why you do video, by the way.
Yeah, seriously.
Like if you have a game camera, man, get one that's good at video.
Yes, I tell you, I'm not a spokesman for anything, and I'm certainly not a game camera guy. But those are Brownings, and they're a few years old, but the audio on them is fantastic. That buck that I had on video this year, that's in one of my YouTube things, the grunt that he put out, it sounded like a 300-pound dude belching after a bunch of Bud Lights. That grunt was fantastic. And that tells you, too. That kind of shows you what kind of noises you should be making. Yeah,
and every grunt I heard bucks make this year didn't sound anything like any of the tubes I carry.
Yeah.
They didn't. It's like, I don't know how you replicate.
Yeah.
It's like
practice, blow into them stupid things, and again, carry it with you all the time and blow it at them all the time and see how they react to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's to them, it's going to sound kind of like a deer, and if they're in the mood, they're going to come in. They're going to give you a shot. And get your shot is what it's all about.
That's right.
Jeez.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, that buck I was telling you about on Veterans Day, he was he looked like he was maybe going to come towards me, so I let it play out for a while. But then once I realized he was 45 yards and quartering away, and he was going somewhere else, I started to call just with some grunts. And then when he got out of sight, I did some real aggressive rattling while grunting. Aggressive rattling.
Don't be afraid. Yep.
And 7 or 8 minutes after I did that, he came into it. So
rattling. I mean, I don't tell a lot of people this strategy around here, but I guess it's too late now. But I got to check my my logbooks and stuff. But I went on I think 9 years in a row where I rattled in a buck. Some years a couple, but at least one buck a year. I love rattling. It works. Like I said, they're curious.
Like blind rattling or after
blind rattling? Yeah. Both. But they're curious animals. So depending on the time of the year, the stage of the rut, where I'm at, a lot of sign, a lot of buck sign, blind rattling, yes. And every 30 minutes, and use real antlers. Take your rattle bag and go out to the trash bin you put on the side of the road and put it in there.
Well, that's why I'm going shed hunting this year.
That's right.
Trying to find some.
Before you leave, we'll dig through a basket. I'll see if I can send you home with a couple of real antlers, because nothing sounds like antlers besides antlers.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it sounds like a bunch of synthetic rods in a sack that you're smashing between your hands.
But still, it works. It works sometimes.
It does. So if you got nothing, then absolutely go with it. Right. But they're curious animals. They hear it. They want to see which two bucks in the pecking order are sparring. They wanna check it out, and they come. I've rattled in big bucks, small bucks, and another trick, right? Hey, if you're gonna rattle, have hooks all over the tree you're in. Have hooks everywhere, because you need to hang up your bow while you're rattling, within easy reach, and 2, have a hook where you can ditch those horns quick.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, I went on a run there where in a few years in a row, when they came quick. And one of the best bucks I never killed. We've all got those stories, but the one that still shows up in my dreams once or twice a year. Horizontal beams. Jesus. Oh, man, they were so straight. And it was in the snow, and it was 5 minutes from here. And I tracked him in the morning, and he went into a piece. I knew right where he was bedded. I said, I'm coming back here in the afternoon with my climber. I went back around. It was the best game plan that never worked out.
Yeah.
It worked out, except the fact that I sucked, right? So I went back in. Everything fell into place. I climbed up. Boom. I hung the bow down low, and I had nowhere. I was in my climber. I figured I'd hang the horns over the handle of my climber, right? Bow hunter climber with no bar in front. I figured I'll hang the horns on this thing when I'm done. Wow, big mistake, because I hung up the bow. I started rattling, and this dude came through there like a Minute Mount 2 9-foot commercial snowplow through that snow, just busting everything, and his chest was just. And he came to 10 yards, and here I am with these stupid horns trying to hang him on the handle of my climber, just completely caught with my pants down. The whole thing went to crap quick. I no shot, no nothing. He saw me with all that extra movement because I didn't have enough hooks in the tree. Gone. See you later. Out of my life.
But look, now how many deer have you killed after that knowledge just helped you?
Lesson learned.
Yeah.
Any time you learn a lesson makes it not a truly lost experience. I tell my sons that all the time. Hey, if you learn something, no matter how bad it went down, it's still a good experience.
Yep.
Whew.
Yep.
The ones that got away.
A lot of them. There's a lot of them.
Boy.
I mean, everyone's going to have them.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's funny, and we'll wrap this one up and get into some turkey stuff here soon, but this is a good segue into that.
Absolutely.
This year, I was having one of those days in the stand. I think it was the same day that all those, I saw the first chasing activity and some bucks coming through and pushing the does through, and the nice mature big 8. Wow. And then stuff settles down. Oh, and before that happened, there was a doe. A doe had come in with another one, maybe a doe and a skipper at first light, and I was going to harvest her. And I had my, we're filming with our iPhones.
Yes.
I had my little tripod thing wrapped around the climber.
Oh, I saw that, and it fell.
Yeah,
out. And it tumbled, went to
so
black.
I think it was all that same day. That happened, then saw the chasing, and then, I don't know, an hour after that settled down, I saw a lone turkey coming through, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna switch my arrow out and put in my turkey arrow. Something my buddy Kevin told me.
Yes, have an arrow dedicated for critters. Yeah, absolutely.
So
I do it too.
I was thinking about doing that because this turkey was going through, but it was all by itself. I thought it was weird, and I was like, why is this turkey by itself?
Yeah.
It's too far, but let me look back and see if there's a turkey, another one with it or following it, and behind it was a buck.
Yep.
Like a buck was following this turkey. I was like, what the hell? Like, is that turkey hot? What's going on?
Cool.
And
estrus turkey.
It was a small buck, but he was just going up a ridge. And again, this is a time where I'm like, I'm not going to let this experience go by without trying something. I'm not going to shoot this buck at this point.
Yeah.
But
See
I want
to
try to call him in.
Yep.
He paid absolutely no attention to the grunts.
Yep.
I did a bunch of different kinds of grunts, paid no attention to it. Was just walking up the ridge. And
but he didn't spook.
He didn't spook at all.
Exactly.
Knew he heard it, but paid no attention.
Yep.
And then I was like, all right, pull the rattle, and I pulled the rattle bag out, and I'm filming it all. It's on that video. And he turns and looks, and then slowly comes in. Yeah. It's a younger buck, but the rattle worked, and the the grunt didn't.
That's right. That's why repertoire, right? I never go into the woods without my release in my pocket, my grunt call, my bleat can, and the rattling horns, because something's bound to work, and you really, like I said, they either come to it or they're indifferent. They very rarely spook. So, and the whole voice bleat thing, right? When they're right underneath you, the voice bleat, getting to stop. Absolutely, I do that every time. But it always, for me, it always works. But there was one time when it didn't work. But don't ever be afraid to do that, because a stationary target is always infinitely better than a moving target. So stop them before you shoot them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was absolutely a lot of fun. I hope I didn't sound like an idiot and added a little something to. If one person takes away one single thing that's going to help them from anything I said, then
we'll figure out how to find somebody next year who's got their first deer who will take you up on.
Absolutely, I will process that thing for them.
Process it and teaching them.
Heck yeah. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Thanks a lot, TJ.
Yeah, thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for listening to the Hunt Suburbia podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. We're going to release an episode every single Sunday throughout the season, throughout the entire year, and we will possibly be releasing some bonus episodes here and there throughout the week as people, come in freshly off a bow kill and tell their stories. We hope that happens throughout the season. There might be weeks where you get 2 or 3 bonus episodes. You might not get one for a couple of weeks, but there will be some bonus episodes. But you can count on us every single Sunday to have a new interview on throughout the season. Once again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week. Big bucks I've been dreaming often, every night till I'm in a coffin. Vermont woods to the burbs of Boston, I'm looking for a tree to get lost in. Crisp mornings, little dust in the snow. Quality time, just me and my bow. Fall evenings, I know just where to go for some quality times for me and my bow.